Guys, Uncle Ray. Welcome to another episode of the Crypto Bellwether. I don't always tell you what you want to hear, but I tell you what you need to hear to make an informed decision. And today we're going to dive into what I think is the ISO 20022 compliant sleeper token that's going to take off in the next bull run. Now, this is not financial advice, but I really think that everyone needs to do their homework and put this on their radar. So let's get into it. Now, Provenance blockchain is a foundation, and it makes up over 50 financial institutions with billions of dollars in digital assets, and they focus on lending and payments. Now, they are basically like a consortium that is trying to move the banking sector into the future, like with Web3 and digital assets and tokenized assets, especially. And that's kind of a different niche that Cosmos seems to be focusing on. It's not focusing on cross-border payments and CBDCs and stuff like that, from what I can tell. But this is a very, very solid and powerful avenue that seems to be, wide open, and not a lot of the competition is focusing on this sector or this section of the sector. Now, Provenance has partnered with Anchorage Digital. Anchorage Digital is a bank, and it's the first and only federally chartered digital asset bank with billions of dollars of digital assets already under custodial services. You know, Bank of Mellon and BlackRock and Circle and all them were in the news for setting this same thing up. Well, these guys have been doing it for a while now. And guys, I'm telling you, they're not the exact power players like, say, JP Morgan or the Circle Group or BlackRock. But guys, these are players. These are real world, legit movers and shakers. And all this sets on the internet of blockchains, Cosmos. Now, here's the good news and the players I'm going to tell you about. It says Apollo teams with Figure and launch blockchain-based fund. Well, when you dive into that, guys, it's basically a partnership of three entities. You got Apollo Global Management, and then you also have Hamilton Lane. Both of those are asset manager firms. And from digging into it, they both have just under $1 trillion under management. Now, the fintech corporation Figure is in the real estate business. So from what I can tell, what they're doing is they're setting up the infrastructure to bring, assets like tokenized real estate into the banking sector, and they're going to be the custodials, and they'll stake it and all that stuff and secure it. And that's the future. And you can see that in other entities like what JP Morgan's doing when they announced that, that Bank of Mellon project and then the Aave Polygon project. They're doing the exact same thing, but in a different area with different players. But Cosmos seems to have its own little niche, and I like that. Now, they've already raised $3 billion. And look at some of the names they've raised that money from. Andreessen Horowitz, the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, Goldman Sachs, and Visa. Guys, we haven't seen anything yet of how adoption is going to look when you start to see sovereign wealth funds come into crypto. It's going to be explosive. And the way adoption is going to happen is not going to be like us bringing in our friends and teaching them how to use a wallet and fund the account. It's going to be through the banks, through the Wall Street, through the financial corporations. They're going to onboard the people and hold all their digital assets in custody for them and do everything for them. And that is going to be a game changer. And that's coming, guys. It's immediately after regulation clarity happens. I mean, immediately. Because one thing I know for sure from doing all this research is every bank in the world is going down the same path. They are all setting up for the future in the banking reset. Now, this is also really cool, at least I believe it is. Now, as Cosmos is growing, it's going to need different applications, and it's being built on top of Cosmos. Now, check this out. Anchorage Digital announces custody for AXELAR newly launched AXL token. Now, here's why this is significant. It's a great project that they needed, and it basically is the next level, from my understanding, of interoperability with like bridges. It's the next level. Now, I'm not going to kid you, I don't understand it, but we don't need to. But from talking to the developers or listening to them, it's the next advancement for security when you have cross-chain applications. Now, here's another thing about that. Now, it sits on top of Cosmos. So when it grows, it's growing Cosmos. But almost all the banks right now and all the custody corporations that are, bringing in assets, as it sits right now, like 99% of them are only allowing Bitcoin and Ethereum to go into their custody. And the same with Anchorage Digital right now. But they've added a third token, and that is AXELAR. Well, to me, this is a window to the future. Not all of it's good, and I'll get to that in a second. But in the future, you're going to have all these major corporations and wanting to get into like ICOs or whatever it may turn into. They may turn into IPOs. It depends on the regulation. But what I'm getting at is they're going to be able to fund those projects through these major corporations and major investors. I hope, and this is the part that might not be that positive, I'm scared that the average person is going to be locked out of the futures of ICOs, because right now, unless you're an accredited investor, you can't do an IPO, because Wall Street wants to keep that for the wealthy. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But the way it looks like right now is they're going to try to make ICOs be for accredited investors only, and it's going to go through these big custodial corporations. They're just going to call up their, the 1% and say, hey, you want to jump into this project, and it's a no-brainer. It'll pump, 100%, 100x, whatever, and because the government knows better for me and you, we're not allowed to be in it, just like IPOs. Now, that part, I hope I'm wrong, and I didn't mean to get negative. But anyway, it's extremely positive. Now, here's another project that is built on top of Cosmos, and it's EVMOS. And basically, it is the next level type of bridge between, it's more of what they call a cross chain. And it basically is how the ecosystem of Cosmos can go back and forth to Ethereum. And what I found interesting when I read through this, it basically said that part of the mission is to bring Ethereum into Cosmos. See, most of these bridges and these chains that move into Ethereum is to be part of Ethereum, and they want to literally bring, they have to be networked into that ecosystem, but to bring the part of Ethereum that you need and add it into the interoperability of Cosmos to build out even better applications for the future. I found that pretty interesting. But either way, guys, this project raised $27 million. Both of these are recently, like in the last month. In this environment, they raised $27 million. And another big player, Polychain, was part of that. So I find this extremely powerful, and I really think, guys, and again, not financial advice, but I think with how a couple of months ago that Cosmos changed their setup for how the ecosystem pays fees to Cosmos, and it was all better, that you're going to see a whole different Cosmos in the next bull run. And even based on the old ecosystem, forget all the advancement in the last year, because of how the tokenomics and the fees were set up, if nothing else changed except that setup, it would blow out its old high. I truly believe that. But now you have that and what's built on top of it that's new. I really believe that it may be one of the biggest gainers, more than any other blockchain, above its old highs. Now, again, not financial advice, but I'm telling you, they are doing so much right. And when I dove into Cosmos, when I first got into crypto, I thought it was the best uh, layer one out there, bar none. I really did, with their interoperability. However, the tokenomics were bad in the way the fees were set up, but that's been fixed. I'm telling you guys, I think Cosmos is a sleeper. Now, I highly recommend go to evmos.org, get a better understanding of what that project's all about. Go to Cosmos, and I highly recommend you go to AXELAR, because I watched some podcasts about what it does with their cross chain. They really, the from the way they explained it, which I didn't hardly understand, the developers really believe this is the next level for bridging assets, and it has the best interoperability, and it sits on Cosmos. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I would get into the charts, but all three of the charts are low, and I think going lower. That being said, I would personally feel comfortable stacking all three of those in the next, downturn, which I truly believe is coming, because I know a lot of things have broken in crypto this year, but it hasn't really broken for Wall Street or in the American economy, or really in drastically yet in the global economy. But I truly believe something's going to break. And when that does, that's the time to start stacking these high utility tokens that have real world application, that are going to be around 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now, because they are the future. And Cosmos is definitely one of them. And quite frankly, all of the ISO 20022 compliant tokens should do really, really well. But this is one that doesn't get a lot of attention. I highly recommend go down the rabbit hole and decide for yourself, because it's not financial advice. So if you haven't subscribed, guys, please do so. Hit that notification so you don't miss anything. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And either way, hit that like button, come back, and be part of this community. Take care, guys.